Here's a comedy-centric moment.
Stop there for a second because once I got into comedy, I began to become really aware of you, not by working with you, but by the stickers I used to see on the toll booths on the Jersey Turnpike and the Guard State Parkway. He had these.
Julia, I swear to God, I could write a whole book about the stories about those stupid stickers. I'm sure why.
Well, let me explain. While you're looking, let me explain.
Yeah.
Jackie was a marketing genius. He still is, but in the early '80s, he saw the value of using mass media, in this case, the telephone, to sell his product.
Yeah, so we didn't have anything. We didn't have mass media.
No, we didn't. But he had a phone, and he had this dial-a-joke line, which I think he still has, right? And
he took his headset off.
Oh, he took his headset off.
Yeah.
And he'd have these.
Got him.
There is. And every toll booth had one of these stickers on it, and it says "Use your finger," and he would make money by people calling this number.
No. That's what's so great. People like, wow, you probably retired. Let me tell you.
Okay.
We were working at a place called Richard M. Dixon's White House Inn, which was a variety show.
Right.
That's where I met Eddie Murphy and Bartlett and Hawthorne, all the guys. And he wouldn't pay us. Dixon wouldn't pay us. And, Julia, you'll love
Where was this?
This is in Hicksville on Long Island.
Okay.
Julia, the night I met Bob Woods, we were both on the show at Richard M. Dixon's, and he wouldn't pay us. But he gave us free beers. So you know Woods and you know me. So the place is empty except for Dixon and his wife. But me and Woods are sitting at the bar because we're going to get our goddamn
money's worth.
And we're sitting there drinking. And Richard M. Dixon was a guy who had his face surgically changed to look like Richard M. Nixon.
Oh, I didn't know
honest
that.
to God truth.
Was that his real name or?
That's still up for grabs.
Okay.
But his place, it was a little bar, almost in a house called Richard M. Dixon's White House Inn. He had his face surgically changed. He actually did a few things. If you Google it, you can find.
Wasn't Messina? Messina was the bartender there, right?
No, he was it. Same idea, but not there. But at the same time, Messina was the bartender at one of the places we did this. After we left, let me get ahead of.
Yeah. Go ahead.
We do this show, and he gives us $5 and beer. So me and Woods, I just met this guy, so we're having our first beers together, plenty of them. We're pounding them down, and we're laughing. And Dixon's wife, Maddie, is all pissed off. She wants to go home, and Dixon, so Dixon gets so frustrated, he gets a plastic bus box and starts going around putting the glasses in the bus box, right? And I turned to Woods and I said, you know what? I think it's time to go. I'm so drunk, the fucking bus boys are starting to look like Nixon. And Woods said, you're all right, pal. You're all right. And we were friends. But Dixon would not pay us. So me and Richie Minervini started a show at Cinnamon, which was a little restaurant in Huntington. In a restaurant. They're going to give us one night a week, and we're going to put on a show and charge money, and we'll get the money, and they get the booze and the stuff. But we got no money. We got no way of getting the word out.
Just got booze.
So I got the bright idea. I'll get a phone line, and I'll tell a joke, and then I'll say where we're performing, and then I'll tell another joke, which is the theory of television and radio. You hear the joke, you want to hear another joke, you got to sit through the ad. And I can still remember where I was on my way up to the attic, which my mother's attic was the first Jokeland. And I said, I used my finger, and it just struck. I mean, Fred Norris from the Stern Show is still laughing at that because he thinks it's so brilliant. And instantly it was busy. Mm-hmm. And all my stories sound like such lies, but Julie.
No. I can. You got to remember, Kat, this is 1980-ish. When there was no clubs at all.
And nobody's heard of a comedy club.
Right.
And we got no money, no way to advertise, but this is going to be something free. So I decide it's busy all the time. I got to get a second line. So I called the phone company. Now, if you work at the phone company, anything where you work at a certain job, anything to do with that, everybody knows what's going on. So I called up and said, hello, I need to get a second line that bounces off of my first line. And they said, I'm sorry, we cannot do that. You're not in a business. I'm in my mother's attic. You're not in a business zone. We can't do a rollover. I said, come on. The guy's like, wait a minute. Are you the guy with the jokes? And I said, yeah. And he went and talked to the foreman or something. He came back and says, yeah, we'll give you the second line.
Wow.
A week later, a month later, however much longer, I called up and said, I got to get more lines. They said, we got to come there. The foreman came to my mother's attic because they were so curious. And it was phone mate answering machines with 1 minute
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
cassettes.
yeah.
And you push the button and you did a minute. And when I got the second one, you pushed the buttons and did a minute. When I got 4 of them, my fingers just reached the 4 start.
So wait a minute, you had somebody would call, they'd get the recording. You had to be there to rewind it?
No.
To hit play.
I got 4 answering machines.
Right.
So to record the 1 minute joke, I had to hit record.
Okay.
So I hit all 4 at the same time and then did my spiel. This is Jackie the Joke Man. Thanks for using your finger. We're going to be at the Cinnamon in Huntington. Why the chicken cross the road? But if I made a mistake, I had to wait for it to finish and do it again. Okay. So it was crazy. But they were a rollover machine. So if you called number 1, then somebody else called, it rolled over to the second one. And then if you somebody called, it rolled to the third one. By the time that was too much, my future ex-wife, Nancy, came to work with me. We got 6 machines. I called them. I said, I need more lines. A different foreman came to the house because they're so curious. They can't believe this thing. Though I kept phone mate and company in business long after they should have been gone. I had it got to the point where so Nancy now had to make copies because I couldn't do it with the thing. So she's making 1 minute copies. Then I called them. I said, I got to have more lines. They said, Jackie, by now we're best buddies. We'll give you 10, but that's it. And I had 10 machines lined up, all plugged in. And it was something to behold. The way it worked is if you called, you got the first machine. Then if you called, the second one would go off. Then if somebody else called, the third would go off. But it was only 1 minute long. So if in the course of, say, the 4th call, the first one's done, the next call goes to the first line. So in other words, the 10th line doesn't go off unless all 9 are going at the same time within 1 minute. Wow. And the 10th machine was Nancy's that had a counter on it that went to 99. And each day, the counter, we had to reset it like 3 or 4 times, which means it went to 99. Now you can imagine the slope of how many calls had to come for all 9 to be going, for that to click over to 99. It was a phenomenon, but I didn't make it. It was people calling my mother's house. It was like people calling my mother's. People thought I was making money. It cost me a fortune. It's still going.
How did you make your money? By the advertisers, or did you have enough?
No, by going and telling my dick jokes and paying Hawthorne $40 and Woods $40.